I'm with Robin Pilley today from CXG Property Services. Robin's a portfolio buy-to-let property investor, and earlier this year, 2011, he won a landmark court case against a local county council or a local borough council. Can you tell us a little bit about what the case was regarding, Robin?
Yeah, as I've previously mentioned, we're always looking to help our landlords achieve the highest possible return, highest yields.
Yeah, because you rent properties out for other landlords and help them buy them as well, don't you?
Exactly. We had a number of tenants who were on what's called local housing allowance, which basically replaced housing benefit.
Right.
So when they're entitled to housing benefit, we're probably about the only letting agent in our area that was able to offer them properties. The yields were quite attractive.
Mm-hmm.
So one day I was looking at the LHA website,
mm-hmm.
which is a government website, and saw that if you were what was entitled to what's called the self-bed contained rate, which basically means you can rent a flat and you get your flat allowance. If they come to me as a letting agent and I haven't got a flat, and I put them into a 4-bed property and gave them what's termed exclusive use of 2 rooms,
mm-hmm.
they could transfer their allowance into that property.
Right.
So if, for example, if I put a tenant A into room 1 and 2, mm-hmm. I can then put tenant B in room 3 or 4. So in effect, you're getting double the rent. So,
right.
For example, at the time in our area, that meant that a 4-bed property, and you could even do it for a 3-bed property, because a tenant A can have 1 bedroom upstairs in the living room, tenant B the third, the other 2 bedrooms. It meant you were getting £1,200 a month rent on properties we were getting for about 100,000. So again, the returns were very good.
That's 14.4% return on capital invested.
Exactly. And it was also helping very vulnerable tenants, because in our particular area, you know, we had people who were homeless, sofa surfing, living in caravans in some cases. We even found somebody living on a park bench. So, you know, as landlords, there's social landlords, we were actually helping the community house these people. It was actually saving the council money, because under that scheme, that the landlord is liable for the council tax, mm-hmm. whereas if they're going into the flat, it is the public purse that pay the council tax.
So how did this actually end up in court then? Who took who to court?
Well, what actually happened was the local council, when I first phoned them up and said, look, this is what I'm going to do, I've looked on the government website, it all seems legitimate and legal to myself, have you got any objection? They went away and said, oh, we don't think you can do that. I said, well, please check it out, because as far as I'm concerned, we can. Mm-hmm. So they then come back and said, no, you're right, you can offer this service, you can do it. We did it fine for a year, council paid out the benefit, no problem whatsoever. And then on Christmas Eve, would you believe, they suddenly decided to halve the tenants' room rate. Now, most tenants and most letting agents probably wouldn't have fought the case and probably would assume, well, if the council have done it, they must be right, they must have their reasons.
Yes.
But there was like protests at the local council. I was actually interviewed on BBC Look East, because these people then faced eviction. Yeah. Because obviously they couldn't afford to pay their rent. At the time, it was probably the coldest winter we'd had for 30 years. Obviously the council offices were closed on Christmas Eve. It was front page news in our local area. So we decided to help and assist our tenants take the council to what they call a tribunal.
So you actually took them to the tribunal?
Yeah, exactly. Which again, people maybe misunderstand. It is the tenants taking the council to say what you've done is wrong. Mm-hmm. We obviously supported them in that action. We provided a submission which counteracted all the arguments that the council had obviously made, and then at the actual tribunal we could represent ourselves, cross-examine witnesses. I did a Freedom of Information request and discovered the council paid their barrister £20,000, would you believe, for the 3-day hearing. And we went in with our little folder, and we managed to win the case.
So a proper David and Goliath win for a landlord.
It
and
was.
The tenants,
well, exactly,
because,
and the tenants.
You know, if these guys that have got evicted, I mean, it seems crazy to me that some of the local authorities, they just seem to want to fight landlords. Some of the charities want to fight landlords, and we're the solution. We're not the problem, are we?
Well, exactly. I mean, one thing the court case really taught me was how important credibility and ethics are. because obviously the council's case, they tried to besmirch us really and tried to make out to the judge that somehow, you know, typical landlord, they're just trying to take advantage of these tenants, they're trying to get as much money as they can from the public purse. Now, what obviously we demonstrated was, no, we've actually saving the public purse money.
Absolutely, saving the council tax.
Exactly. You've got a duty to house these people. You know, do we want social unrest? I mean, we all saw the consequence of the riots, etc.
Absolutely.
They need to be housed. Our landlords are prepared to house them. Yes, they want to return. What's the problem with that? They're responsible for the repairs on the houses, unlike, you know, so it's not costing the public purse in that way. They're offering their accommodation, which no other, letting agents were offering at the time. Not only that, the government changed the legislation whereby housing benefit or local housing allowance benefit actually goes direct to the tenant. This obviously, I mean, this might surprise you, Mark, and might surprise some of the people listening, but we actually thought, well, if it goes straight to the tenant's bank account, are they going to pass it on?
Well, we've seen a lot of unrest amongst landlords about this.
And what are the consequences of that? The consequence of that is that landlords are going to withdraw their properties. We're going to have again
and where
problems.
Do these tenants go? You know, there's no council houses for them to move into,
and a lot of these tenants are genuinely vulnerable. You know, they're not the best at managing their money, etc. But they do want secure accommodation. Now, if they've got dependency issues, you know, and we did have people who you know, had drink and drug related issues, and if you're putting in some cases £1,000 into their bank account,
it's not going to go on the rent, is it?
Where's it going to go? So we again researched and found what they call a credit union bank account, which basically protects the rent for the tenant. He's not allowed to withdraw it, he can't get it out, so it protects it for what it's meant to be for, which is accommodation. The account's in his name, so it basically obeys the legislation, but it gets ring fenced and then gets passed to us as a letting agent, and we can pass it direct to our landlords. Again, the council seemed unhappy with this at the start of one of the reasons they cited that they fight in the case was that we'd circumnavigated the law in this regard.
So a lot of this talk on the forums about this two tenants sharing and the credit unions and all these schemes actually started with you.
Well, I like to feel that we were the sort of flag bearers for that scheme. Because
can I just say on behalf of landlords all over the country, I don't let to LHA tenants, but I know a lot that do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And what's important is landlords don't often know the legislation. Again, if you get what we did, we went on to the DWP, which is the Department of Works and Pensions agency, who are actually, if you like, the bosses of the council, and tell them what they should be doing. It's cited as good practice to set up credit union accounts.
Right.
So when we went to court, we presented that and said, this is what your bosses say, and we've obeyed what that legislation. And I think the judge said CXG sound more like, you know, Mother Teresa than
they were actual words used by the judge,
and again, it come through. I mean, obviously, I think we talked previously. We'd won awards, and you know, we've had like coaches to help us with making sure our business follows very good ethical lines. So when you go to court, if you've got something to hide, you don't go there.
Yeah.
If you're very open and you can say, look, we've met senior politicians, we've met the Chancellor, George Osborne, Mark Priest, the Coalition Business Secretary, and we are very much a company that goes out there, hey, this is us, this is what we do, we're proud of what we do, we're helping vulnerable tenants, we're helping landlords, we've got nothing to be ashamed of. Now other landlords, we seem to be tarnished with this kind of reputation that somehow we're trying to do creative finance, we're causing problems, we're taking advantage of tenants, etc, etc.
It makes a lot more news to talk about the rogues, sadly.
It does, and you know, but as an industry, I feel let's fight back, because you know, most of us do want to offer good accommodation. We do want to. All we want is our tenants to be in there, be happy, be in a safe environment. Yes, pay the rent. Yes, we want to return, but we're giving our houses to the government for these type of people, and there's nothing, you know, there's nothing wrong in that. So you know, it really was something. The fact they made it a test case, of course, means that everybody now, if the council tried to do a similar thing, they can cite that case and they'll win. So
very, very inspiring story, I'm sure you'll all agree. Thank you for joining me today, Robin, and sharing that story. Congratulations on all the awards. Obviously we can see why you're winning them now. Long may that continue, and long may your business continue to grow and prosper and flourish. I know that you're looking to work with other landlords that want to invest. and I think this video is a really good demonstration of why you're one of the good guys that people should be talking to. So thanks for joining us today. I'm Mark Alexander from Property 118, Robin Pilley, CXG Property Services. Contact details to follow. Thank you.
Thank you, I really enjoyed it.